lack of time, I will be speaking from time to time in broad brush strokes. So to start with, just to get the real difference between this training, which many people say is one of a kind, there's nothing like it out there, and everybody else, is that by and large, everybody else trains to get better and is fixated about improvement. So over a period of time, and it can be years, lots of hours on the court, many thousands of balls hit, possibly loads of money on coaching and technique. People do get better, they improve, and thereby they win more matches. But as soon as they play somebody of their standard, so it's equal, and then they progress into the, you know, the 50-50, big points, tie breaks, etc., old self resurfaces. And I suppose to train yourself, they would then read books and watch videos on, you know, mental toughness and various other aspects of that ilk. And we would argue that's great, that's knowledge. It probably does help you to improve, but you work in silos, so they don't train at exactly the same time what the intention of this training is, which is to train big point player executional skills at the same time as training big point player behavioral skills. So as an analogy, it's the 3 inches by 3 inches between your ears being trained at exactly the same time as the 4'6" by 78-foot alley. That is where you hit into on the court. You know, the court is not the big court that you see. The big court is made up of 4'6", 78-foot alleys. So that's it. We train, you know, the ability to, the art and the science of beating when you could just as easily have a narrow loss or a narrow win, to more predictably and reliably get you across the line so that you narrowly win. The person that we aim for, of course, is Novak Djokovic, that prior to COVID won 17 out of 18 tie breaks on the trot. And of course, very famous 2 match points against Federer on a couple of occasions, one being at Wimbledon. So that's what we're about. That's the context. More things to say about how we went down the route and the mixture of military and martial arts and personal transformation and world-class tennis trainers, but that will be a subject for a bit down the line. So does that make sense, first of all? Because if it doesn't make sense, ask me questions and Ramon and I will clear it up.
Yeah, I want to welcome you guys to ask any questions that you got. And let's kick it off, actually, Mark, with kind of going around the room and just finding out, you know, who's in the room. So what level do you play at? What are some of your goals? Like, what would you like to be able to do on the court? We could put that down in the chat. I know for me, I was always a doubles player because I wasn't as athletic as the other guys, picked up tennis really late, and always had this story in my head that I wasn't fast enough, didn't have a big enough serve, didn't have the technique. And I thought, how cool would it be to actually go out and play singles? So that was one of the big reasons I was attracted to what Mark came to me with this program, which we'll get into in a sec. So just go ahead and put it down in the chat so we know how to sort of best steer this class. Yeah. What level are you at, and what would you like to be able to do that you're not currently able to do?
I remember, Ramon, when we started off, your identity was, I don't play singles. I am not a singles player.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And my wife still teases me about that. She's out on the court warming up for her USTA match and loves singles now. I think it's really cool to be able to rely completely on yourself and go to it. So Jerry, I think it's Jerry or Gary? Gary, awesome. Great to have you on the call. So 3.5 singles player, lack of consistency, and a big shot. Interesting. And I think, Mark, you know, consistency is one of those things everybody talks about. And I know you have a a slightly different concept of what consistency is and how we should be aiming to be consistent. Should we get into that now, or should we save that for a little later?
Big topic. I would just not, it's not teasing, but all these are big subjects on its own. So consistency is not necessarily about technique and how you hit the ball. Consistency probably gets into myelin, the ability just to repeat over and over again, hitting into targets and patterns, and what the military do, which is strip all the unnecessary movement down, deselection, and get into the basics and execute them as meticulously as you can. And clearly, and then we'll go on, if you shift from playing tennis, which is one shot at a time, reactive, possibly thinking and analyzing, getting to the next shot just in time or a little bit late, the opportunities for you to miss time or muck up are large. In fact, Robert Carbo, our head of tennis, says rightly that tennis is a game of errors and failure, and every time you have an opportunity to hit the ball, that increases your chance of error and failure. So wouldn't it be great if we only had a few tactics, only had a few two-shot combinations, trained them repetitively, and were in a position to force winning a point in 4 shots or less, or 5 shots or less. So the idea of complicit long rallies is not in our training. So that's that. And also weapons. Yeah, of course, weapons are great. And we are a big proponent of turning your forehand into a fair hand. But for the rest of it, this is about targets and hurting. This is not about making things up on the trot and winning, because in the pool of shots, 70% are errors, forced and unforced, and 30% are winners, and half of those winners are accidental winners. So again, these are the areas we need to train into.
Awesome. So we've had some really good engagement here in the chat. Just want to acknowledge you guys for chiming in and letting us know what you want. So Dwight is returning to tennis after many years as a 3-5 player, rec level, starting over again. Big challenge is getting fit and always learning. And Dwight, what's really amazing is we've had a number of people who have been away from tennis for a really long time. Dr. Erin Boynton comes to mind, who was a pretty good player. She took 20 years off to raise a family, and then came back and had this story in her head of saying, well, how am I supposed to keep up with these girls who've been training for the last 20 years while I was, fixing rotator cuffs? And she's a board orthopedic surgeon. And she went through the training with Mark and became Canada's plus 55 national champion. Which is amazing.
And you train a few people on your own private court that are successful in other areas of life and have just taken up tennis age 50, 55 and 60, yeah?
Yeah, and I think what's the cool thing is, we're all short on time. That's the one thing we don't have more of. So, we could be on court like I used to be and hitting thousands and thousands of forehands and improving the technique and, that story that Mark's talking about. Or if competing is important to you, which I'm guessing it is if you're here, then we could get laser focused on those 20% of skills that if we spent all of our training time on those skills would get us the 80% of results that we're looking for. And that's what we do. Oh, Tom reached out. So Tom went through our last training. He says, his yips are gone. I didn't even want to say the word. I was a 4.5 in my youth and prime. Now 3.5 as I age to 70. Want to get back to 4.0. So Tom, congratulations on getting rid of the yips. Good to see you.
Yeah. What normally happens, before I answer the question about the 73-year-old, is that getting rid of yips is a consistent feature of the course, and many people report that they magically disappeared or magically melted away. So So it's not as though we train mentally tough, or when the heart beats shallow and quick and your gut, we've got little techniques for that. No, we don't. It just mysteriously goes. You wake up one day and you go, oh my God, I don't have the yips anymore. What happened? And if that happened to Tom, big applause to you, Tom.
So we've got one more comment, Mark, and then we should probably move forward. Is
Yep.
GB, and GB plays doubles only. She's a 4-0. Guessing it's a she. Apologies if not. Just this year, I had 2 matches where many of my shots went astray. Couldn't seem to regroup or focus. Played mixed in the zone. I was asked to play with 4 different partners. So I need to know how to stay consistent with this in mind. And I know that's a big topic, GB, and that really gets into pressure, Mark, and how, when the shots go astray that we're hitting so well in practice, why does that happen, and how can we fix it?
Yeah, well, and also doubles. You're the doubles man. So you turn from being very good at doubles to a feared predator, and everybody you teach at whatever gender or ability turn into predators too. So 2 things. So it's important to note that while we probably slip to infer that we're talking more about singles, we do have a big point player doubles training program, which is very different from the singles training program, because obviously the tactics are different and the ability to execute the tactics are different. But the relationship with pressure, how to turn it from enemy, something to be mentally tough about, into your best friend that you embrace and seek, how to train your identity and shift it into one as a big point player, how to train your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. All that is consistent with both programs. And I obviously notice people saying I'm 3.5, I want to go to a 4 and a 4.5. So splitting hairs, absolutely right, but that is in the improvement state. Okay. So what we want to do instantly is for you to beat people in your peer group. That's the first thing. Now, if you then want to go on to the improvement line, obviously we massively applaud that. But all you have to do to go from 3.5 to 4 and 4.5 is not to learn anything different, but it is just to train the exact same things you learn on the 30-day course, and you just get better at it. The direction is a bit more precise. The first bounce is a bit more precise. The consistency is better. Then you can upgrade with a bit more power, a bit more spin, and a bit more variety. But the patterns, the targets, the 2-shot combinations, and everything else are exactly the same. And no, we don't like changing grips and swing paths and all the rest of it. But if you have something that hinders you executing on the tactics, then we would look at it and invariably just deselect unnecessary movement. We do not train talent. In fact, we've redefined talent to be a skill that you can reliably depend upon at big points and under pressure. That's talent. So I think we've answered most of those questions. Our youngest player so far is 8, and our oldest is 74. And cracking on. The 74-year-old keeps saying, everybody else is getting worse, Mark, and they keep saying to me, why are you getting better?
So can we get into how this kind of came about, Mark? You got a military background, and clearly the military don't just wing it when they go out and get dropped into, the jungles with people firing AK-47s at them. Yes.
But before that, and just put in the chat box, because it's just something we hear consistently, and there's no right or wrong or good or bad. Does anybody have thoughts of, particularly when it's tight and nobody knows which way it's going to go, do you have thoughts of I'm not worthy enough, I'm not good enough? Question 1, yes or no? Again, when pressure kicks in, do you tend to think and analyze? Yes or no?
Yep, I know for me, I can speak up. When I was just starting getting rolling in competition, I started at 16, had loads of sort of confidence issues in general, but on court especially, because I had never played sports before. So I just remember dumping an easy volley into the net and then immediately having the story of, oh, you always miss, you know, you're not talented enough. All of those sort of worthiness issues was a really big deal for me. Tom says,
Oh, well.
I overanalyze. Yep.
Yeah. So Tom, if you go through it again, we will be focusing more on your identity and how you can train and trust your instinct so you play on autopilot. Because when pressure kicks in, and there are 3 different types of pressure, when pressure kicks in, one of the effects of pressure is to increase the volume and the amount of conversations going in your brain. Right. Just before then, I tell you what the training is and the different types of training. Anybody else got any questions at this stage? And is it clear what we train that we don't think anybody else trains? Is that clear? Cool. Okay. It would be distracting for everybody if I put my glasses on and off all the time. So, okay, so there are 4 different types of totally different types of training genres that we have packaged as one. So the first one is HM Forces military training. And with all these, we've taken loads. But right now, I would say from there, and obviously, clearly, the military are recognized as being the world's best to perform under pressure when it matters most, because genuinely it's live and die and no action replay. So from them, we have taken elements of identity and character and integrity and resilience. We've taken their love of process, and we've taken to focus on the basics and execute meticulously. And they also train in 2-shot combinations. If they're doing drill or stripping a rifle, it will be in 2-shot combinations, and all that we've brought into tennis. Then we have brought in, because I was doing very well at this stage, and then I saw an interview with Novak Djokovic in his 2 years out from hero to zero to hero, and he credited his ability to get back his newfound spiritual training. So, oh my God. So down that rabbit hole we went, and one of our mentors is a Kung Fu master, has been for 28 years, trained by his master before that for 12 years. And this training of master to master to master goes back to 1000 BC. And the underpinning philosophy, the spiritual philosophy of Kung Fu, is something called the Tao. So he has brought that into the training, and that gets into training as every practice or training is fresh. The ability to operate on instinct, the ability to calm your brain when it matters the most, and a few other essential elements. So that's that. And he's in the training. He's a very interesting guy. He looks very interesting. His name is Sifu Matthew, and is profound, as you would expect from a training that's been handed down by mouth to mouth for 1000 BC. So we have that in it. The third element, which is our secret sauce, which is not spoken about a lot, but it's personal transformation training, principally from organizations like Landmark Education and Tony Robbins. And this is the ability to create and train your new identity as a big point player. B, your ability to get yourself out of the way when it matters the most. But unlike Tony Robbins, which will espouse gigantic, massive action, we are in the 1% club. Just train 1% a day of being uncomfortable. and then you will acquire skills, and then you will get mastery, and then you'll become the training. So the personal transformation training is a massive component of this. And then lastly, we have two world-class tennis coaches. One is a guy called Robert Carbo from America, and another one is Vlado Platinic, regarded as the world's leading Grand Slam development coach for ladies, and has taken 4, if not 5, from obscurity and broke into Grand Slams, top 100, and then down to top 50, top 30. So they are principally responsible for the evidence-based tactics and the ability to execute those tactics, as somebody said, reliably, with the accuracy of direction, precision of first bounce, and then how to upgrade with power and spin and variety. So we have that. So if you put all those 4 totally disparate ingredients together into one program, the program is called Trust, Tactics, Repetition, Under Pressure, Self, and Thoughts and Feelings and Emotions. And we train every single component of that at exactly the same time, which is why we're able to get the big point player behavioral shift between your ears at exactly the same time as the big point player technical shift of hitting the balls where you want them to go. Any questions on that? That might have been a mouthful for you to take in. Oh, something in the chat. Let me have a look in the chat.
Yeah, I think just adding on to that, Mark, I think we've all had an experience where you go out and you groove a forehand, or you take a lesson and you're learning something new about your technique and it's going great. You go out in a ball machine, it feels amazing, or you're even hitting with a friend. And then when you get into the match, that forehand has gone off the rails and all of a sudden you can't find the court, and all of those thoughts and feelings that we have in tight moments that Mark was talking about sort of invade us. And then all of a sudden, disaster can strike. And I think a big reason for that is what Mark was talking about, is those 5 elements that are crucial to winning, having a plan, the tactics, repeating those tactics and gaining mastery over them, dealing with pressure in training so that all of a sudden when you get into those pressure-packed moments, you've seen yourself go through the repetitions under pressure so much that you have a belief and a certainty that you can trust. And then the self and the thoughts and feelings, having a identity that you are the type of person that comes through in those moments, is super important. And I think that's what's so powerful about what Mark's talking about.
Cool. I'd really love to dig in to the audience, and if there are any specific things they would require, because the aim of this is really twofold. One, to give you real value and some training tips, whatever your problems have, and B, for you to get to know Ramon and myself, so that if you guys and girls want Ramon, myself, and our small hit team to train alongside you, then there'll be the ability to do that. And on that thing, 2 things to say. One is we are accountable with you and for your results. So if you don't quickly start beating your peer group, you can turn around and say to Mark, Ramon, and team, I didn't get those winning results. I'm not having more fun and my brain is not peaceful. I still have the yips. We need our investment back. So want to know, we are back to back with you. So anybody got specifics like yips or anything else that want to talk through? Or have I said anything that doesn't make sense, like targets, 2-shot combinations, instinct, pressure?
If you have a specific challenge or something that you're going through regularly in your matches and you want to ask me and Mark about it, we could unmute you, or you can put it down in the chat. Happy to bring you up on stage and and have a chat. Okay, so Jerry says anxiety always pulls the eye off the ball.
Oh,
That is the truth, and there's a reason for that, Jerry.
wow.
Because going deep with Lenny Schloss, who's the creator of the eye coach, and why the ball is the biggest distraction, and it goes back to hunter-gatherer times where we had to either hit something to capture food, throw a spear, or get to it. And those are the three primal instincts that we use in tennis. And so when we hit the ball, we're actually hitting the ball and sending or throwing the ball at the same time. So we're actually wired to fail at that. And that's one of the big points of emphasis that we have in the training, is how to keep your head still through the shot and trust that where you intend to send it is where it's going to go. So yeah, that's a great point.
Right. So Tom said that was more than a mouthful. It was more than a mouthful. And if I've overwhelmed you, I'm sorry. But essentially the training is very simple. It is very straightforward. Anybody, any age, any ability, online can follow it. Somebody asked about, can we pick when we start the 30 days based on our schedule? Ramon, do you want to answer that? And also what the 30 days consists of?
Yes. So, sorry, Mark, I was doing something. The question was, can they pick when the 30 days start?
It's about their schedule, and can they kind of start the 30 days when they want, and answer that. But once you start, we really would like you to do the training the way the training was designed to do, i.e. in 30 days. A, that puts some pressure on you. And B, if you continually put it off 45 days, 60 days, 75 days, you don't get the intensity and the momentum that shifts everything. So Ramon, probably just go through what the 30 days consists of, first of all, because then we've got context, and then answer the precise question of when can we start?
Sure. So during the 30 days, guys, what we're going to have is a series of videos that you watch each day, typically between 3 and 6 or 7 minutes. Some are a little bit longer. And so you watch those. They go over the knowledge of the tactics of what we're going to do. It goes over some of the self-training that we talk about, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And then you have the actual on-court training of how to actually put this into practice. So each day you'll have a few videos to watch. We'll do a self-assessment of where you are right now at the beginning of the 30 days, and an objectives form where you talk about what you actually want to accomplish, so that at the end of the 30 days, as you go through the training, you see how far you've come and it's objective. So typically on a given week, you want to be on court training for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours a week. That's all you need. And there are ways to train if you don't have a hitting partner, if you don't have a ball machine. I had my daughter tossing me balls, doing the 1-2 shot combinations. So provided you have somebody that can hand feed you a ball, that's great. And then we have progressions that go all the way up to, if you've got someone at your standard or your ability, that you guys can work together. So that's it, I think. That's the 30 days. Like Mark said, it's really a stake in the ground is when you sign up. We want you to go through it, do the training every day, watch the videos every day, and make it a mission to become a whole different player in 30 days. And we've got, during the 30 days also, we have weekly webinars. So every Sunday, 9 a.m. or whatever time we decide works for everybody else. Typically, that's what we've done. We get on the webinar.
9 a.m. Pacific time.
Specific,
it's not
yeah.
my 9 a.m.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Mark's in the afternoon waiting for his gin and tonic at that time.
Correct.
So we do that. So we get together, we go over what you went through during the week, answer any questions that you have, have some training to go through, and that's every week. So there's 5 of those. And then we have a WhatsApp group where me, Mark, Dr. Aaron Boynton, who we told you about, who's our board certified orthopedic surgeon, Robert Carbo and Vlado Platnik, those world-class coaches he's talking about, where we're in that group, answering any questions that you have, analyzing your videos, doing the training, and we're absolutely there for you. So I think that's the 30 days. Did I miss anything, Mark?
They get it for the singles, they get a training manual.
Yep.
Okay, so yes, micro training videos, WhatsApp group, training manual, webinar. So our next group starts November the 9th, correct? Am I right?
Yep.
Okay, so answer the specific question is, and we've done it, so there are a number of options. Ideally for us and for you, that goes with a group. It starts on November the 9th, goes on for 30 days. We do have, and I have a number, I only take 5 a month. So we do have VIPs that just want one-to-one training, and that's available. There's also a few people that start the training earlier and have a couple of webinars with Ramon and myself, then join the group and go through the rest of the program. And it's quite feasible, we haven't done it this way, that people might start halfway through the course and then carry on for a couple of weeks with some training webinars by Ramon and myself. So those are possible. Ideally, we would prefer everybody to travel as a group in the WhatsApp group, have some cohesive community, or do one-to-one. But if it doesn't suit people's schedule, we can accommodate, a tad. Does that help? Does that answer before I answer the doubles volleying question? Is that clear? Is that happy? Are you happy?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, we had a question about volleying.
Doubles.
Yep.
Yeah, that we volley well in practice, but I miss easy balls in a match. So first thing to say is that there's, and I know we're splitting hairs, but there are no such thing as easy balls. There's no easy volley and there's no easy smash. Unless you have trained the precise thing, hit from the right angle, going into the right target spot, and you've done it over and over again, there is no such thing as easy. So the probability is you've been practicing volleys, but you haven't been practicing easy volleys and smashes in pressurized match simulation conditions, I would guess. So what happens when easy volleys and smashes happen is that often there's a rush of thoughts and feelings and emotions that go through you. Like you just see red, you should be finishing off the point, you get overexcited, you might even get nervous at the same time as getting excited, and you probably take your eye off the ball as well. So for all those reasons, whilst it's easier to get the ball in court, you can shank it into the net or outside the court. It's common. So the antidote to that, which we've alluded to in doubles in particular, is that now for doubles, the 1-2 shot combinations is not you, it is you and your partner. So you play as team. The aim of the person to hit the ball first is not to hit their best shot, but how can they set up their partner that is closest to the net? And that goes equally for the serving team and the return of serve team. So the entire battle of doubles is fought out by that thin space, 2 feet, 3 feet immediately above the net. That's what we reduce the game of doubles to. So if you then practice precise 2-shot combinations, which is your partner served where you're going to intercept, we hate the word poach for all sorts of reasons. The word poach is horrible. Even the name implies you are taking your partner's shot. So if you muck up the poach, you're immediately into the unsaid conversations between your partner and yourself. So the way we play, which is very, very different from everybody else, including myself, how we were trained, is that the person closest to the net, whether that's the service partner or the returner service partner, their job is to take that ball as it crosses the net. So by and large, most of our volleys are easy because they are above the net. Second thing to say then is that we have precise targets to hit for. If you're the service partner, if somebody's returning the ball to you, directly at you, there are 2 targets to aim for. If you're intercepting over the net strap, there are 2 targets to aim for. So we cover every situation as a volleyer, whether you're the service partner or returner service partner, and practice that so that easy just becomes a process, a routine that you do without thinking, without feeling, and without emotions. And also, if you get quite sophisticated, with no expectation or desire of the outcome. And that might sound weird and odd, but if you can just focus on and execute process with no regard of outcome, then the outcome is most likely to be what you desire. The more that you focus on outcome and talent, if you like, the less likely that's going to happen. And if that sounds voodoo and anybody disagrees, please, please, please chirp up now, because it's a great conversation point. And did that answer the question about volleying?
My wife had a story in her head that she couldn't hit a high backhand volley to save her life. And for all kinds of reasons, if you're married, you know what I'm talking about, resisted me going out and sort of helping her and training her. But eventually she said, I want to win this USTA league. Let's go out and do some training. So we did exactly what Mark was talking about, had the 2 targets lined up, did it progressively, just like we do in the course. And now her backhand volley is just ridiculous. I mean, she's dominating at the 3-5 level, and soon will be 4-0. And for a 5'1" Filipino girl who is all fire and brimstone is pretty cool.
Cool. Somebody asked the question about eye on the ball. So let me do it my way, and Ramon, if it's not accurate, chip in. So what most of us do, including me, until I got retrained, and I have to say my standard, my effectiveness now, having researched and refined and tested all this way of training, is way more effective than it ever used to be. So read the eye on the ball. What most of us do, I think, is watch the ball coming to us, and then when it's about 3 foot away, we tend to look where we're going to hit the ball to. Ramon, are you still there? Ramon,
Yeah.
Ramon?
Yeah, we
Okay.
had a few microphones going off. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So repeat, we look at the ball coming to us. When it's about 3 foot away, our eyes then look to where we're going to hit the ball. And the most crucial thing, it's called the 3-foot car crash, is to track the ball so that so a few things happen. 1, you're always looking at the back of the ball. 2, you keep your head still, stationary, so that at the moment of impact, the only thing that counts, you are looking at the back of the ball and you are visualizing the arc that the ball needs to leave the strings in order to go over a particular target above the net in order to have the first bounce. And once you've hit the shot, your head should still be looking down at the ground. You move and then you look up. And if you look at any sport, the top tennis players, the top golfers, the top American football kickers, etc., 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 everybody at the elite level does what I've just discussed. I would say everybody else in the pyramid downwards doesn't. So that is one thing that we train. And the secondary benefit is that if you can train yourself to do that during a point and just focus on the back of the ball and do what I just said, then the work that we've done between points to get yourself into the zone, you carry on being in the zone because you're no longer reacting, doing your best, thinking and analyzing, and all those flip you out of the zone that we've just spent a process between points getting you into. So now the feeling of you practicing and playing well, often because you're relaxed and non-thinking, getting into the zone, can be applied to a match. So no longer do you say in a match, I left all my best tennis on the practice court. Well, we don't have a practice court, we have a training court. Our training court is harder than a match. So when you're in a match, obviously it's much easier. Does that answer that question on eye behind the ball?
Yeah, if you want to go deeper on that, Tom, just let me know, and happy to have a separate chat with you. That's a big one. All right. Any other questions before we move on and talk about, if you actually do want to train with me and Mark, we'll tell you how you can do it. If you have any questions, let us know down in the chat. I'm sure people are curious about what this is all about and what the details are. But if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Hold on, there was something coming in that I didn't see.
Nope.
May I add to seeing the volley? Oh, okay. I'll dodge over the eating the strawberries and the cream, which is exactly this, like how you could be on the match. How do I train my brain to be laser focused on process rather than random thoughts?
Oh, that's a good one.
Top question. I've said probably enough, Ramon. Even I'm bored with my own voice right now. Would you fancy taking over how we can be laser focused on process and not subject to random thoughts pulling you left, right, and center?
Sure, I'll give it my best crack. So I think one thing to realize is once your mind starts going crazy, the virus has entered. You're already in that state of fight or flight. So what we want to do is train a very specific process that you do in between points every single time that, as Mark said, gets you into the zone. So we have 25 seconds. We have a very specific process that leads you through sort of a mini meditation, a detailed visualization, and then to get you into a prime physical state that allows you to go out, narrow your eyesight, and be laser focused to start the point. So that's the first thing. We rehearse this many times during the training, so that becomes a skill. And then, as Mark said, when you've got the specific two-shot combos that you're doing at any given point in a point, they become like Legos. So we always know the point's going to start with a serve, and then you're going to have your second shot, or serve, and then you're going to hit your return, and then you're going to hit your second shot. So we train those specific two-shot combinations so that when push comes to shove, you're not thinking, you're just executing on autopilot. So we've got in singles 5 two-shot combinations to train. And the way these tactics work is they're sort of like Legos. So serve +1, the +1 can turn into our approach shot volley smash, or it can turn into one of our disrupting the baseline rallies that we do to get out of those long points. So we've got the between the point process, the 25 seconds to get you in the zone, and we've got our training to do for the two-shot combinations while you're in the point. And then if you train those from moment to moment to moment to moment, you are now laser focused, and there's no opportunity for your brain to go off on a tangent.
Yeah. Let me just add a couple of things, Ramon. Absolutely right. So you get trained, I think, from shifting that thinking tennis is a game lasting an hour and a half, operating, pacing yourself at 5K speed, to realizing that tennis is played from 0 to 5 seconds, repeated many times with a 25-second rest in between. So the two critical moments in the 25 seconds is the first half a second and the last half a second. So if you do not arrest your eyes in the first half a second, if your eyes are looking all over the place, the brain will be looking over the place and the virus will be into you. So it's very, very important, the first half second. And by and large, people have one or two methods. First method is looking at the center of your strings and begin to pick the cross and longitude strings in the center of your strings. And that gets your eyes focused, and then the brain is still. Other people like Sharapova, when the ball finishes, immediately turns on the heel to signify to herself that the point is finished. She focuses on the little square of the net, behind the baseline, walks towards that, does her process, which we don't have time to go through right now, and then is behind the baseline, ready to serve or return a serve. And the trickiest thing is the last half second, where if you haven't given your brain something to do, even at the last half second, in comes the virus. If you're serving, I will say, what are you going to do? You're going to roll it in? Are you just going to get it in? Are you going to serve for glory? And the little something comes into your brain in the last half second. So to answer the question is, we have a trigger and a process to go through. It consists of eyes on the strings, one dynamic breathing technique, a bit like a box method in special forces, and then a 3-step process to get you into flow. And then the last half second, again, there's a trick to make sure that the virus doesn't get into the brain. Okay, but it needs to be practiced. It's simple, but until you repeat it, it doesn't become who you are. It becomes knowledge that I use from time to time.
Yep. Mark, we got a question from Bill, and Bill asked how he can see the volley better. So Bill,
Okay.
I'm a little curious about like seeing the volley, like what exactly you mean.
Yeah. Well, I'm a friend of Ramon and Mark, and I'm keen to add value where I can and help things out. I wanted to kind of reiterate what I was hearing from Mark, is that part of the problem seems to be that getting too excited for the shot. So, one thing I see people doing, and I've done this, is in your mind, you're thinking, I'm about to win this point. Oh, it's in the net, or, oh, now it's wide. Because of, so I think part of what Mark was saying was it's the delay of gratification that will help you have the clarity to actually make the shot. So that's one thing that I'm hearing from that. And then here's another thing, and then I guess Mark, you can respond. But another thing, I've been in conversation with Dr. Peter Fatty, who works with Major League Baseball teams on batting. And he has affirmed that indeed our brains do an amazing job of apprehending the blurring, moving object. So when we trust our eyes and our brain to get our racket on that blurring object, we do better than when we try really hard to keep our eye always directly on the ball. So thanks for letting me come on. I messaged Mark and Ramon privately to get their permission. So Mark, what do you have?
Welcome, Bill. So I wouldn't say I am besotted by winning, but founded something called the Winning Summit, of which we've had 2 versions of now. And last one were 17 experts worldwide, authors, TED Talks, etc., speaking on one element of winning. And Bill has spoken at all the summits. So thanks, Bill. And I just want to see if I've missed any questions in the chat. Okay.
Adam asked if we're going to have a recording of this. Yep, absolutely, Adam. It's being recorded. If you'd like the recording, just let me know. I'm happy to send it to you.
There was one question about adding to our discussion about seeing the volley. And the best way I can describe that right now is that doubles is whilst you think it is made up of random shots, it is actually very predictable of the patterns of play, where you hit the ball, where they return the ball. It's very statistically valid. So part of the training in the doubles, again, we go back to a two-shot combination, not one, react, get there late, do what I have to do. If you play patterns, you are able to see, and your DNA will pick up the movement of the opposition to what they're going to do, and you will be trained to just marginally, fractionally go to the spot as you see them commit. So the mistake we make, whether it's return a serve or or any other shot, is that we think we know where the ball's going to go, and we're trained, I think, normally to watch the ball on the strings to get an early read on it, and then it's left the strings and it goes where we think it's going to go, but now we're too late, because it takes about half a second for the brain to process and move your feet, and it takes about a quarter of a second for the returner serve to go past the net. So you'll invariably be late. So you would be trained to, that's where the data says the ball's going to go for this particular shot. I wait for them to commit, and then I move so that I will be ahead of the game and be able to put the volley away. There's probably more to it, but that's the best I can do right now.
Awesome. Any other questions, guys, before we start to wrap up here? And we'll tell you how, if you're interested, how you can train with me and Mark and the team. We'd love to take you through the 30 days, sort of as your Sherpa as we climb up Everest together. If you have any questions, put them down. Otherwise, we can get into the deal. Mark, you want to do that, or you want me to do it?
A bit of both. We've done Pinky and Perky so far. Just to put it into context, I want you guys and girls to mentally think what you've spent on tennis over the last 10, 15, 20 years, whether it's been turning up for practice, having coaching, playing matches, traveling to matches. Just begin to get an idea of what that investment in time and energy and yourself is. And then project ahead 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, because genuinely, he said, when everybody says genuinely, I go, you're telling a lie. That without this training, your future of the next 5, 10, 15 years is going to be pretty much the same as it's been for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So I just want to put that as context, because we would say, what's the cost to you of not doing the training, rather than what's the cost of the training. So with that said, for the 30 days, with the 72 micro training videos going through every element of trust, one tactic per week, one ability to execute the tactic per week, training on pressure, identity, and thoughts and feelings. The ability to be trained by Ramon, myself, and our special guests once a week, to be on the WhatsApp group where you film your shots, send them in for personal analysis, and we have some training and communication from us to you and amongst the group. That would be $497 for the 30 days. And if anybody wanted to do stage payments, then we would look at that just to make it easy for you.
Yep.
So
So
Ramon, we did do Pinky and Perky. Oh, there's a guarantee. Come on,
Yeah.
Ramon, the guarantee.
almost forgot the most important part. So we want to give you guys the opportunity to train with us and let us take all the risks. So if you turn up, you do the training with us, you go through the process, you implement, and you don't get the results that you're looking for, you're not beating the players that you've always barely lost to, shifted who you are as a tennis player, and having a whole lot more fun on court, just let us know. Happy to give you your money back with no questions asked. We have never had someone who has done that. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah, we put the links down below, got a singles link and a doubles link. If you'd like to sign up, like Mark said, we start on November the 9th with a kickoff webinar, probably that Sunday or possibly Monday morning. We still got to nail down the time for that, but love to have you guys on the course, completely change the way that you look at tennis, the way you play tennis, and really become the next best version of yourself. So with that, if you have any questions, love to answer them here for you. If you have any objections, you think this is crazy, let us know, and happy to hash it out with you.
And if anybody wants to do the VIP one-to-one training, again, just reach out to Ramon and myself.
Yep. So Jerry says, when is the next session after this one? Jerry, are you referring to the next round of 1 point away? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the next round of the winning formula. We've changed the name of it. So that kicks off on, the November the 9th. So like what me and Mark were saying is, if there was a smaller gap, like a week or so, that you'd like to start a little bit later, we could work with you on that, Jerry. Just reach out to me and we can do that. The ultimate plan is for this to be an ongoing sort of join whenever you'd like. Is, you know, when me and Mark start advertising, this will be more evergreen, but we love having a group of people that kind of go through it together. So hopefully that answers that question.
And Gary, if you haven't found the links yet, they're just immediately above you from the chat you posted.
Yep. All right. So if you don't have any questions, really appreciate you guys being on the call today. This has been a lot of fun. Hope you got a lot of value out of it. If you have any questions that we didn't get to, you can reach out to me or Mark on the email. Just respond to that email I sent you, and we'll get it sorted for you. Gary says, still don't see them. Oh, the links. Here we go, Gary. I'll send these to you. And Tom, thank you for the kind words. You were awesome in our last group. It was great to see your growth.
Yep. And obviously, in terms of value, this is not a, here's how I can do a 100-mile serve or whatever. But if you are irritated and frustrated that you know you could and should win matches that you now narrowly lose, and you've tried everything else, almost certainly this will be your solution. And the amount of fun on court, never mind the results, and the peace of mind that you get will repay the investment many times over, because once you've learned it, this is a skill for life.
Yeah, I think one of the amazing things is, you know, I've got a few personal clients that I work with these exact same drills and processes that we do, and the time flies by in an instant because there's no wasted time. Everything is accountable. Everything's under pressure. You're always slightly out of your comfort zone, but you're seeing yourself continually execute to better and better levels. And then when you get the results, you get on court and you start beating the people that you've always lost to. obviously that reaffirms your belief in what you're doing in the training. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I can brag about it because I didn't come up with it.
That's true. It's so much easier to brag when you do. It's so true. So cool. We've had an hour right on the dot. So unless anybody's got anything burning to say, we thank you so much for spending an hour with us. We love doing this. This is not duty. And we hope to see you with us or on court sometime soon.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.